Hello students, welcome to the online class for automobile component design. This subject is present in your 5th semester diploma syllabus for automobile engineering department. Let me first introduce myself. My name is Tanmoy Kundu, Assistant Professor, Department of Automobile Engineering, Dr. Sudhir Chandra Sur, Degree Engineering College, Kolkata. Start with the course objectives to impart knowledge of fundamental concept of machine design applied to automobile components, to impart exposure to standard course of practices, CAD and use of design data book. To impart knowledge concerned to automobile component design. Course outcomes. So at the end of this course, students will be able to analyze the loads, type of induced stresses, resisting areas, and hence the modes of failure. Identify modes of failure and relevant theory for problem solving. Analyze practical problems and make use of materials, strength equations, and factor of safety. Use design data book to standardize component dimensions and to select dimensional tolerances. Next, come to the lesson plan. This plan is prepared as per the syllabus provided by West Bengal State Council. So here you see the whole syllabus is divided into 3 important modules. So as we see in the module number 1, that is basic concepts of design, and that part I have already covered so far. Module number 2, design of shaft, key and lever. So this part is already been completed as well. And the final module is design of chassis and engine components. So as you know that all the engine components such as the clutch, the engine cylinder, the cylinder crown or piston head, piston ring, piston skirt, and finally the connecting rod part. So all those parts I have already covered so far. So today mostly I shall discuss the important objective questions, MCQ based, from the different components of IC engine. So let us start with those MCQ based objective questions. So today in the lecture number 32 we will be discussing the different objective type questions, the most important objective type questions set from the important components of IC engine. So first one, the cylinders are usually made of option A cast iron or cast steel, option B aluminium, option C stainless steel, option D copper. So you are all advised to refer my previous lectures and the study materials that I have already uploaded along with the video. So in that case you can also refer that where I have already clarified that the IC engine cylinders are made of most of the time is cast iron or cast steel. So the correct answer will be cast iron or cast steel, option A. Then question number 2, the length of the cylinder is usually taken as equal to length of the piston, equal to length of the stroke, equal to cylinder bore 1.5 times the length of the stroke. So as you know the cylinder length is not at all always equal to the piston, because it is not at all it is somehow different than the piston, and it is not at all equal to the length of the stroke, because there is a margin, there is a clearance is provided always above the length of the stroke, so that the design, for the case of the design safety. So generally the margin is all about the 15%. So 15% extra length margin is provided over the stroke length. So it generally becomes the length of the cylinder, that is L, equal to 1.15 of small l. Small l means it is the stroke length, capital L means it is the cylinder length. So 15% additional margin is provided over the length of the stroke. So the correct answer should be 1.15 of L, but here the 1.15 is not mentioned, it is mentioned 1.5. So near to the 1.15 we'll consider that particular thing. So the correct answer should be D. Question number 3, the skirt of piston option A is used to stand the pressure of gas in the cylinder. Option B acts as a bearing for the side thrust of the connecting rod. Option C is used to seal the cylinder in order to prevent leakage of the gas past the piston. Option D, none of the above. The correct answer should be the skirt behaves as a bearing for the to accommodate the side thrust of the connecting rod. So the correct option will be option B. Question number 4, the side thrust of the cylinder liner is usually taken as how many times of the maximum gas load of the cylinder. So side thrust, as you know, go refer to the previous slide that I have already shared for the cylinder design. So the R is generally 1/10. R is the side thrust. It is generally designed 1/10 of the maximum gas load, that is the P. So correct answer is option C, that is 1/10. Question number 5, the length of the piston usually varies between option A D and 1.5D, option B 1.5D and 2D, option C 2D and 2.5D, option D 2.5D and 3D, where D is the diameter of the piston, that is the outlet diameter or outside diameter of the piston, and it is also called as the bore of the cylinder. Okay, so what is the relation between this length of the piston and this diameter of the piston? So the correct answer should be option A. Generally L/D ratio is maintained as 1 to 1.5. For the piston, generally this L/D ratio is maintained 1 to 1.5. Question 6, in designing a connecting rod, it is considered like dash 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 for buckling about x-axis. Option A, both end fixed. Option B, both end hinged. Option C, one end fixed, other end hinged. Option D, one end fixed, other end free. So it is always looks like a theory of column. So in the column theory, as you know, in the column same thing, one side is fixed, one end is fixed, another one is hinged, one is fixed, another one is hinged, both end fixed, both end hinged, like this. All are the different conditions of designing the connecting rod. So what will be the answer, as it is considered like a dash 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 for buckling about x-axis. Okay, for buckling about x-axis. So in that case the correct option would be both end hinged. Both end hinged. That means we know that in the connecting rod there are two ends, one is big end, another one is a smaller end, small end. So those two ends will be hinged for buckling about the x-axis. So the option answer is option B, both end hinged. Next question number 7. The crankshaft in an internal combustion engine Option A is a disc which reciprocate in a cylinder. Option B is used to retain the working fluid and guide the piston. Option C converts reciprocating motion of the piston into rotary motion and vice versa. Option D none of the above. So as you know from the very basic fundamentals that the piston always reciprocate inside the cylinder, and that reciprocating motion of the piston is transferred to the crank by means of this connecting rod. So ultimately the crankshaft starts rotating. So here we see the reciprocating motion of the piston is finally converted into the rotary motion of the crankshaft. So the answer should be the crankshaft converts the reciprocating motion of the piston into the rotary motion or it may be like rotary motion will be converted into the reciprocating motion. Okay, so vice versa, reciprocating to rotary or rotary to reciprocating, that is the vice versa. So the correct answer is option C. Question number 8. The rocker arm is used to actuate the inlet and exhaust valve motion as directed by. The options are cam and follower, option B crank, option C crankshaft, option D none of this. So as you know, I have already discussed the basic fundamentals and operation philosophy for the rocker arm in the module number 2. If you refer that module number 2, so you can notice that the rocker arm is actually helpful to operate or to actuate the inlet and exhaust valve in the automobile cylinder, and this is done by means of a cam. So the answer will be cam and follower, option A. Question number 9. For high speed engines, a rocker arm of dash dash should be used. So in case of any high speed engine, the rocker arm cross section must be like I section. Okay, so options were like rectangular section, I section, T section, circular section, but the correct answer shall be option B for the I section. Okay, so you see these are all about the major objective type questions that may arise from the chapter named IC engine components. Now if you go through my study materials that I have already covered in the previous lecture, so if you go through those lectures in detail, so you can find the several material aspects, several design data, several empirical formulas, several design methodology guidelines. So from objective point of view, all those informations are very much important. So these 9 questions I have selected, these are all just like samples, sample questions, but ultimately when you will learn all those study materials in detail, so you can find this particular module 3 is having lots of informations, lots of mathematical formulas, empirical formulas, design data, design considerations. So you have to study all those important things very thoroughly so that you can answer the objective type questions, the broad questions, the short answer type questions, and as well as there are several types of numericals that may arise from this particular chapter. So once again I am telling you that this is just sample questions. There are few questions, many questions that may arise from the very basic uh, lectures or very basic study materials that I have already shared. So study those things carefully. So primary things what I have learned, what we have learned today so far, that cylinders are usually made of cast iron or cast steel. So not only cylinder, it may be asked that material of the piston, material of the crankshaft, material of the connecting rod, material of the piston pin, material of the crank pin. So each every item is made of the different types of material. So from the material point of view, we have to cover the all important components, the materials of the all important components in the IC engine. Okay. The length of the cylinder, as I have told you, that the length of the cylinder is generally always taken as a minimum 15% of additional margin is provided over the length of the stroke. However, it is minimum value 1.15 of small l, but you can go more than that, but ultimately what will happen, the cylinder dimensions will be increased. So minimum 15% you can provide, and here we see that in the options 1.15 is not total provided. So the near to the data we can assume that 1.5 will be the correct answer. So as I told you, the function of the skirt in the piston is to behave or is to function as a bearing or to accommodate the side thrust of the connecting rod. So side thrust on the cylinder liner is always taken as 1/10 of the maximum gas load. This is this information is also available in my study materials that I have already covered. So please refer those study materials that I have already shared. The length of the piston usually varies in between D to 1.5 D. That means L by D ratio for the piston is always taken in between the 1 to 1.5. In designing the connecting rod, so it is always taken as both end hinged to consider the buckling about the x axis. The function of the crankshaft in the IC engine is to convert the reciprocating motion of the piston into the rotary motion, or maybe vice versa, that is reciprocating to rotary or rotary to reciprocating. So this transformation of motion is accomplished by the help of this crankshaft. The rocker arm is used to actuate the inlet and exhaust valve motion by means of this cam and follower. And at the very last, what we have learned, that for the high speed engines, the rocker arm should be I section type. Okay, so the cross section of rocker arm should be like I sections. Okay. So these are all our the different informations, total 9 questions I have selected. But if you visit some of the websites, regular websites, so you can find that from automobile component design, or especially from the chapter like design of IC engine components, design of IC engine components, from this particular chapter, you can see there are several types of MCQ questions. So those questions may be available in the website also, so you can regularly search those websites, and along with that you have to go through my study material, and also you should have your textbook. So in the textbook also, if you learn, if you go through them thoroughly, so you will be able to answer all kind of MCQ based questions, short answer questions, and along with that you can also solve the various numericals. So practice is always a necessary thing. So try to practice those numericals, the MCQ questions. one thing I would like to advise you all, that the material part, here I have only mentioned the I have only questioned the material for the cylinder, but not only cylinder, I have shared some of the lectures that covers the materials of all the different types of IC engine components. So like components like piston, connecting rod, crankshaft, crank pin, piston pin, gudgeon pin, everything, all individual component are made of the different types of materials. So these materials are very much important for objective purpose and for viva purpose. So try to grab those, try to prepare those items. So this is all about my lecture on those MCQ based questions. So I'd like to end my session right at this moment. So thank you very much to all of you.